of Egypt. And these people are known in the Western world as the star people, them star people. And that's because what happened with these people was a bit of history. You know, Islam came in and it swept Africa like a tidal wave. And you either submitted to Islam or you were killed. And then later on, some of the brothers and sisters that was raised up in Islam became, it's called the Holy Wars, the Jihad. They came and they also toppled empires and all. But these people, rather than to give up their tradition of the ancient science that they knew, they migrated to different places. And when the Arabs used to come, when the French got over there, the Arabs said, hey, these people, the black Arabs said, those are the most nomadic and most barbaric people we've ever seen. They fooled everybody. They just went plain old dumb. Say, hey, well, we don't know nothing. So when the people came, they said, we don't need to mess with these people. They don't have anything that we want. They're savage. And we want greatness, and we want the riches. Because everything came in Africa, came in there for a certain reason. To take out, or to impose a certain idea so they could take out. There's an old saying, say, when the man came to Africa, he had the Bible. He had a redone Bible that he got from us, rehashed it, and spit it back into a King James version or whatever. So when he came to Africa, he had the Bible and we had the land. And when he left, we had the Bible and he had the land. You see? So because rather than to give up this knowledge, they went to certain mountains this in Mali, and they became mountain dwellers. And they preserve this knowledge up to this day. I'm going to give you another picture. This is a book called The Pale Fox. There's another book called Confessions of Olga Demeli. And
can you raise that a little bit to get the name?
That's Maine Griot and Germaine Ditterlin, French. And it's called The Pale Fox, and this is the book that gives you the mythology of the Dogon people. The Pale Fox is not the same as this symbol. This symbol comes from the god Nomo. Very important god to know. And you need to take these pictures that you have and put them up in your house somewhere. We'll go into that next slide. This is the god Nomo. He's known as a fish god. Now, before I want to get to this, I want you to get me to some of the stars, because I want to go into the science. He's known as a god that's in an amphibious form, and he's a chief principle in the Dogon mythology. He has a resurrection, and all of this just like the Jesus Christ story. Then we understand how certain things come from certain things. You can give me this. This is,
There we go.
just pull it up some, all the way to the top. This star, these people, so-called star people, knew there was a star in the constellations. This is the god, this is an Egyptian god, Anubis. He's a god of the opening of the way. And it's more like a god that prepares, the god of embalming, and he prepares your soul to go into another dimension. Give me another star. The actual stars. Well, anyway, I'll just go into this.
Okay, I'll be looking for you. This starts off.
Okay, let's put that back up here.
Okay.
Serious mission. Now, they told the first people to come and to visit them that they knew of a star. In the constellation, you have the star Sirius, which is the brightest star in the constellation. And this star, the ancient Egyptian knew this star as the life giver to the Nile. This star would come and it would rise the Nile, giving life to the Nile Valley, because the Nile is the blood vessel to the world. So this star would rise every July 23rd. It's called the Hero Horizon of Sirius. It was also 3,000 years ago. I think it was June 21st. This star would rise, and this star would give life to the Nile Valley. It's called the inundation of the Nile, where the Nile would rise, and this would give life to Egypt because they could plant their crops. It was just like when the Nile rise, it was a big irrigation. And in the winter, because you know you can't tell winter months in places in Africa and all. So in the winter months, this thing would go down, and in the time when it wasn't risen, they would go and build temples and different things. But when the farmers and all of this would get their agricultural basis, when it would rise, their irrigation when the star would rise. So this star is actually giving life form to our earth. Since the Nile Valley is the cradle of civilization, this star is actually giving life form to our earth. It was very important. And so this is a picture. Now, I'm going to explain this, and I want you to move the other one up a little bit. Just move it up some. So I want to get both of them. Okay, now go down. Right in there. Now, that the Dogon people told the, what you'd call them, anthropologists or archaeologists or just plain old beast astronomers or plain old devil explorers. They told them that there was a star in the constellation that orbited the bigger star, the brighter star, which is the brightest star in our constellation. They said, but you couldn't see it, but they knew it was there. So, you know, we figured that that's a group of Africans that's just talking. So later on into this century, when they developed a telescope to photograph it, and this is a photograph of it, they knew that these people were right all the time, because this is the Dogon star right here. That is their, something that's on their monuments or their writings suggesting that this is the star. This star is called a dwarf nova. And it's a star that's burnt out, but it's a star that weighs, I think a matchbox full weighs about a ton. It's the heaviest matter in the universe. And it's called Sirius B, which you can't see. They say, well, how did these people know this? You see, there's a guy, Carl Sagan, says that some white people gave it to him. Some French white people came in and gave it to him. You see, anything to snuff out African genius. Now, if I say, sometimes some people say, well, that's just racist. Sometimes I think it's more than just racist. I think it's a conspiratorial effort on this, because these people know everything, because they got our own papyrus and all of our knowledge in the museums and in libraries all over the world. So these people know what time it is. It's just that we don't know what time it is. So, go to the, no, well, okay, I'll just talk on this one now. Anyway, there is a Sirius C, which is the third star. And why did I bring this? So I told you Sirius A is the brightest star in the planet, and this is one of the few that I didn't Xerox. I drew it out to explain. This is Sirius A, the brightest star in the constellation. In the next solar system, which is the Sirius solar system, and in the brightest star in our sky. This is Sirius B, which is the star, the white dwarf star that they so-called just detected a couple of years ago. And the Dogon told them that there is a Sirius C. This is Sirius B, Sirius A, Sirius B, this is Sirius C. The Dogon said there's a Sirius C. And some white astronomers by the name of Fox saw it in 1926, 1928, and 1929, and never saw it again. And so now they said, since they didn't see it again, they said, well, it probably wasn't never there, because the white man can't prove it. You know, he's saying that, hey, it doesn't exist. You see, he has the power to define and make it stick. But anyway, they said this Sirius C is the planet of woman. See, and that's the direct link with what we're talking about. And we're talking about all this Apit and all of this, the female principle and the female goddess. And they also said that this planet, this star, is a star that so-called our ancestors go to when they die. Now, I want you to get the hieroglyphic for Sirius. Okay. They say that it's a star that our ancestors go to when they die. No, the big hieroglyphic. Well, we can do that, In Hemmitt, they said the same thing. They would say that when we die, our spirit or our soul would go to another constellation called Sirius. Asoptis is the Egyptian word for it. Asoptit. Now, I want you to pull this up a little bit. Push it up a little bit because I want to show them. Right here, you would always see this located in the death chambers of pharaohs and nobles. And right here, you see this is the birth chamber. This is the birth part. And you know it's the birth part because we have the god Apit right down here. You understand? And this is the whole thing that goes in birth. Right in here is the life. It's just like a tombstone where you have when you're born, you have that slash, and then you have when you expire. Well, this is the life form. Because you notice you see a cartouche right in here, or a chinook. This is saying the life of whoever that king or queen was, or whoever that person was. And pull it down some. And right up in here is the heavenly body. You have the goddess Isis, which is represented as Sophis, which is represented as Sirius. She's a representation of the Sirius, which is that Sirius constellation. You have her hiding the rest of these, and right up here with all these stars, right in here you have it cleaning out, and right up in here you have the hieroglyph for Sirius. You see? So it's showing you from birth all the way to where you end up. Now, if our ancestors said, we must, to get out of this mess, we must believe what our ancestors say. You understand?
You want this?
Yeah, put that one on. Here's another one at the temple of Menet-Hedu, where you have the birth, and whatever. This would probably be the life form. And up here you have the same thing, and right in here you have the hieroglyph of Sirius, and you have Isis. And I have better pictures in there. Now, this is explaining. I told you that Hemmitt was heaven on earth, and there was a thing called as above, so is below. This is a piece of hieroglyphic showing the sun giving life in the mouth of Isis, going on down, and she's giving it to the serpent, which is representative of earth. So it's telling you, as above, so below. Oh, this might say, as in heaven, so is on earth, you see. So what it's showing you is that at that time, whatever they had on earth, which was Kemet, was directly symbolic as it was in heaven. And as long as they carried out the divine laws of Ma'at, they would be all right. You see, it would stay. Now, this is the Babylonian code, which is a colony of Egypt, showing you the certain deities that we have in the Dogon system and that we have in the ancient Egyptian system. They're showing you the certain deities up here. I think this is the goddess Ishtar, rising. There's a book out by Robert Anton Wilson called Ishtar Rising. But he has another book out called A Cosmic Trigger, and I'll give you some bibliography, some books that you need to go into and read. And it's showing you this whole rising of Ishtar, and this is the god Nomo that is from the Dogon mythology. Now, I just want to stop for a minute because I want to explain this mythology to you, what's going on here. In Egypt, you had a god, the goddess Sophis, which is either represented as the goddess Isis or the goddess Hathor. And she's represented in the sky, and she was a beautiful god, and everybody would look up in the sky and they would see her and they would love her. But she was feeling unwell. This mythology is real symbolic. Don't say that's a bunch of mythology, or that's a bunch of mythology, and say this, and you believe in a bunch of mythology every Sunday, and you believe all kind of crazy stuff that don't really make no sense. Because all of the science is taken from this. And we believe all that and don't even question it. So this is the same type of stuff, but this has science behind it because what we teach today comes from this. So if we're going back to the original, we got it. Now, she's a beautiful goddess, Sophis, and one day she's feeling unwell, and she understood that she was falling from the heavens. And she understood that one day her light would go out. And she felt a little embarrassed about it, and she wandered around in space, and she tried to cling on to any constellation that would have her, but the constellation was saying, hey, one day we're going to go out, so we're not well enough to have you. So she moved around until she finally went out. And the people who used to worship this star, not necessarily worship, the people who used to admire this star, saw her light burn out one day, and they mourned her death. But days. For 70 days they mourned her death. One day, a shepherd who would get up early in the morning to tend to his sheep, he got up right before daybreak. And somehow when the sun was rising, he saw, just before daybreak, he saw her. He saw her beautiful face. She was there all along. So that's symbolic of the star. That's symbolic of the star that the Dogon say that they can't see. You understand that you can't see, but they know it's there. You see, this stuff has traveled down into mythology. You see. So she said that he looked, and the next day he called all the people, said, she's still around. They said, how can you say that? He said, it's a certain time. And so they came and they saw themselves and they all rejoiced. It's a small story. But 3,000 years ago, on June 21st, right before the heroical rising of Sirius, which would be later known as Dog Days, the Egyptians, or the commissions, used to, right before daybreak, they built the temple that temple I showed you with those Hathor heads, the temple of Dendera. They built the temple of Dendera, and a light would precisely beam, just like a pin light would beam into the shrine of the temple, whatever god is in the shrine of the temple. And I have a book, and I think the god is up at it. And it would light up the temple and illuminate the temple, you see. So they understood the science of light, but they built the temple of the Virgin Mother, for this particular occasion each year. And we know they would do this because in Ramses' tomb at Abyssinia, they used to build the temple so the sun would hit him in the ray of the sun every year on his birthday would hit him in his face. And they later on, when they built the Aswan Dam, they moved the temple back so many feet, and then they found out that and they had the best astronomers and the best people, technicians in the world, architectural people in the world to do this. And even with their advanced technology, when they moved it back, it was a day off. It still wasn't superior in the ancient, our brothers and sisters. But now, that is a portion of the Egyptian fable, or the Kemetic fable. Now, the Dogon fable is this. This is very important. You have the god Amma, who is the creator. I call it, and they say he. Remember now, later on we have different concepts of God based upon what climate it is. So they say he, the creator, in Dogon. I say she. The god Amma created the universe, and then the god Amma created the first son, Ogu. The god Amma is represented as Amen-Ra. If you get Diop book, Civilization of Barbarism, in the article, Does African Philosophy Exist? He's represented as Amen-Ra when he traces it all the way back to Kemet. But the god Amma creates the first son, which is Ogu. She said, well, listen, you will be created, you will be completely created. I'm making your brother, which would be Nomo. That's this fish. She said, I'm making your brother, but I'm making two twin female halves for you. This would be your spiritual side, and you will be completed. But he got restless, and he got all anxious, and he broke out before he was all the way created. Now, we got some people on the earth now that ain't halfway created, now do we? He broke out, and he traveled the universe uncreated. This made him the god of disorder. Now, Robert Temple traces this back all the way back to the god Set. So he breaks out uncreated. You see how these things kind of parallel each other? The first story I told you about after, and these things all play in. And we understand that African religion, it just changed names wherever it goes in Africa. Some of the stuff is the same deities in Kemet. In the Yoruba religion, you have some of the same deities are the same ones that's in Kemet, just have the names changed. And some of the fables change, but it has the same principles behind it. And he broke out. She said, okay, you won't be able to reproduce at all. And he got in her womb and walked all over the universe until he could reproduce himself. about like people we know now. They can reproduce themselves. But she said, well, you won't be able to reproduce me. And you know they can't reproduce you. This is all in the fable. And isn't it funny how it just goes right in place? And I read this the first day, and all of a sudden, it went right in place. I mean, it just started falling right in place, and I didn't have to just study just to read something in it because I'm trying to find something. It was there. And so she said, you won't be able to reproduce me. So we understand that his whole thing is to be like her. It's just like the white man's whole thing is to be like God. That's why he can kill over 1 billion people on the earth of indigenous people. And he's got to get rid of the indigenous people to this day to be like God. That's where AIDS comes in and crack and all of this, you see. So, she said, well, he has a placenta, and his placenta is called Earth. This is his placenta. I guess it would be his nome or his domain is Earth. And she wanted to destroy him and Earth. Remember now, you can't destroy the opposite because that's duality. So what she did, she made the brother Nomo, which is this fish, representative of this fish. She made this brother, she said, I'll make him and he will come back and he will sacrifice for his evil brother, Ogu. Ogu is called the pale fox. Pale meaning white, fox meaning sly, slick. You understand how the mythology all of a sudden? I'm not making this up. You understand what I mean? It's in the mythology. You understand? You can't believe me, but please believe the ancient sources or give it some consideration. Give it the benefit of the doubt. So she said, I'm going to create another brother to sacrifice for him. Doesn't that sound about like a little story we do every year? Every Sunday or something? You understand? And Jesus Christ is symbolic of what? The fish. Right? In Piscean age. Right? And she says, I'm gonna sacrifice. He's gonna come down and he's gonna sacrifice. Now, if you trace this all the way back to the Egyptian story, Osiris and Isis, which the brother in direct opposition of Osiris is Set. And then they have the Immaculate Conception, and they have the son to come, and he revenges Set because of Set killed his father and the whole deal, if you're not familiar with it. Anyway, Isis and Osiris supposedly had brought civilization to the Nile Valley. If you read Temple's book, the Serious Mystery, it tells you how Isis came and Isis and Osiris are the people that supposedly brought civilization to the Nile Valley. Isis is representative of Sirius, which is or Sothis, which is the star that gives you the inundation of the Nile, that gives you the irrigation that the Nile rises and it plants the crops. And Osiris is a corn deity or vegetable type deity. He's symbolized as green, if you see it. So this stuff is all symbolic. So, didn't I say first that, so what we have is this, trying to give you a picture. There's heaven on earth, but earth is Ogu's place, or the pale fox place, or Set's place. Set is the prototype of Satan. That's where they got it from. It's nothing that grew up no different mythology that just grew up out of by itself. They all came out of Kemet. It all came from Kemet. So Set, Ogu, or the evil force, his placenta, or his nome is earth. But you have Isis and Osiris, or you have Nomo resurrected, coming down and sacrificing and bringing civilization. And that civilization, they call it divine kingship in Egypt. As long as you have divine kingship and you carry out the laws of the universe, the Maatian laws, and you carry out these laws, the civilization will keep in place in the nome of Set. You understand? Didn't I tell you that inside of Egypt and Africa was Horus's land, which is the representative of the Egyptian Trinity, the representative of the male and female balance, Isis and Osiris. Heru is Horus. Set is Isis. Osar is Osiris. And you have the African nome of the African land is the land of Horus. And outside of that is the land of Set. are set tight. And in Alan H. Gardner's, one of his books called Opposite Extraordinary, you can't even get them in this country. A lot of this stuff is in French, written in French. Some of this stuff is translated in English. It's in some libraries, but they never print this stuff. And there's hieroglyphic saying, everything below Kemet, Horus's land. The people of that known is, the people of Horus is the people of God. That's black men and black women. The people above that is the people of Set. That's your Asiatic on into your, which would be Asiatic at that time into your European. This is right there in the Melanesia, right there in the papyrus. I think it's coming from the Chester Beatty papyrus, the British papyrus of the hieratic papyrus of the British Museum. Now, so he resurrects, and the story, if we trace it all the way back to Kemet, for somehow the people, as well as the Egyptians, got into a Set worship in the latter part by influence of the people that were in Kemet, got into this Set worship based upon a god Baal that is a god of war, and Set is a god of war, and Set is also a god of ignorance. It's a god of ignorance. Now, and the Egyptian pantheon, which all these gods you see was monotheistic from the beginning. You see, it just had different characteristics of God, because they understood that God was bigger. And they understood, they had the knowledge of God. And the knowledge of God had principles. And all the gods that you see are actually principles. And when you put them together like a jigsaw puzzle, it represents one God. The European, the Asiatic, and all of the others that came in could not understand that concept, because they could only look at what was literal to them. They couldn't, you understand? And they couldn't understand the concept. So this God, somehow, there was a Baal god, is a god of war. And you got this god of knowledge is also the god, and Baal, when the Egyptians came in and the Asiatics came in the first invasion in the 14th, 15th, and 16th dynasties called the Hyksos came over 200 years, they came and they was worshiping this god Baal. They said, oh, that's the representative of Set, that's Set. And so, this, and which is a god of ignorance, a god of war, a god of disorder, a god of homosexuality. You know, I am a vengeful God, I am a jealous God, I am a God of fear, God-fearing people. And also, if Kemet is the God of knowledge, because there's no religion hiding truth. Because if you study truth, you're going to get everything that's supposed to get in the first place, so therefore you're going to know God. You understand how that goes? And if this was a God of knowledge, what do they tell you in the Bible in Genesis, what they told Adam and Eve not to eat from? The tree of knowledge. Bingo. You got it. See how things are going? You got it. And we must look at this thing in consideration, because our people are in deplorable conditions, the worst conditions ever. We've always been in these conditions throughout our history in the hells of America, and we must look at this thing. If you in hell, the religion that governs hell can't be nothing but that of hell. That's common sense.
Right.
You understand how that goes? Now, so what we have is we have religions coming out of Kemet, the Set worship. Now, what you also have is this. You have Isis mythology and Osiris mythology that talks about a resurrection, and you have this that talks about a resurrection, but you also have, I mean, Dogon that talks about a resurrection, but you also have both mythology talking about retribution. And this is the hour that we're on today. This is the key focus of what I'm talking about now. Now, Nomo is supposed to come back. He's supposed to take human form. This is the Dogon part. He's supposed to take human form, and he's supposed to come back, and he's supposed to subdue his evil brother Set and purify the earth. He's supposed to purify the earth. And that's the same as Jesus Christ coming back. You understand? It's the same stories. You see, what they took out of Egypt, they took stuff, and let me clarify this. The stuff that they took out of Egypt was actually the same stuff that Egypt put down. They just took it out in fragments. And they took out the male side, but they didn't take out the female side. But the male side, unbalanced between male and female, is Set. You understand? But we can still trace it back. Yes, when they say Christianity, Judaism, and Islam came out of Kemet, it did. They are right. But one side came out. And this is the imbalance of the world, you see. Now, he's supposed to come back and he's supposed to purify the earth. In Isis says, I am the governor of the god and of the planet Sophis. She's represented as Sophis, that's Sirius. And she said, I will get retribution on the mothers, the haters of mothers and fathers. Now, the haters of mother and fathers, you might disagree with your mother and father, but you don't hate your mother and father, your mother and your father. They're talking about a people that hate their mothers and fathers of human history and human origin. And she also said, I will get retribution on the haters of the woman. And that's the sexism. You see, sexism, racism, and classism, it's all one. One is all. It's the xenophobic attitude, or the xenophobic attitude of the fear of. The fear of something different than you. Even the fear of your own species have, which is the woman. Your own mama that had you. You know? So, here we have the Babylonian cult, which was a colony of Hemmitt. And you see this same fish here, representation of the same type of mythological view, and represented as the same type Nomo fish. Not Nomo. Here, it's talking some other stuff, because I got it from another book. Right here, this is Isis, represented as Sophis. Also, Hathor is represented as Sophis also, which you see the cow heads and all. So now, the Dogon say that our people are on this planet. When we die, we go to this planet. And one day, our people will come back. And our people will subdue Ogu, or the pale fox, and they will purify the earth. And they will come back with the ancestors of man. You see, the ancestors of man. Now this is the point. Put it on. To let you know what ours is. They have what you call arts. In some mythology they call them flying arts. They have what you call arts. This is 700 years old. And it says right here, it's a Dogon design of a spaceship, a space capsule. It's also represented as an obelisk too. But it's a spaceship. This is over 700 years old. They can trace it back to. You see? Now, here's a people these are people that knew the heavenly body accurate. They knew this thing to the T. And as a French astronomer said, you need not doubt the Dogon people. They know what they're talking about. Here's a people that knew stuff precisely. Now, all of a sudden, this is up in the mythology. You best believe it. You see, you best believe what's going on. Give me another picture. Okay. Just gotta peel that off. This is a wheel. Other night, we just found this the other night when we were making these things. He found it in one of the books. This is a wheel in Kemet. And this wheel, in the book, it said this is a type spaceship type thing, and it's a wheel in Kemet. It's made on a stone monument. Right in Kemet. Remember, Elijah Muhammad, and I must pay homage to Elijah Muhammad at this point, because I think sometimes when we get in scholarly debates, we leave out the people that doesn't have PhDs and doesn't have authority on it based upon the white man's perception of authority. You see, the white man got to validate you before our own people believe you. Here's a man with a third-grade education, and they say in the 1940s, he went to jail because of some draft dispute, because he didn't go into the service. And they took some blueprints from his briefcase. And the blueprints was of some spaceships. The Nation of Islam teach all the fruit of Islam this story. And they talk about the mothership. And remember Farrakhan back in 89 had that incident that the Washington Post played in on when he was in D.C. speaking about he met Elijah Muhammad on the spaceship. There's a book by the name of, because we gotta have white people validating all that stuff. There's a book called People of the Web. Validates this same thing. They said that they could believe what he was talking about, because number one, he said he was in New Mexico, and New Mexico is full of UFO mythology about the gods. It's full of UFO mythology about the gods. He said he saw Elijah Muhammad. And so all of a sudden this mothership thing is coming into play. But see, we didn't believe him because he only had a third grade education, you see. And a lot of things that he said to this day, he might have said it in another form. But when we go through all the scholarship to prove things, we find out, and I'll tell you the truth, I study this stuff daily, and the higher I go up into the mysteries, the more and more I find out that a lot of things he was saying was true. He said the man was the devil over 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now I got to go and find a piece of Egyptian hieroglyphic or Egyptian hieratic papyrus to substantiate that. You see how we do things? Sometimes the prophets come in you know, they say God comes in mysterious ways or works in mysterious ways. They come in all sorts of people. And you see what I mean? And so we have this going on now, that, and we need to understand some things. That the brothers in the Nation of Islam might not be talking some of the same things that some of the scholars are saying, but the underlying current to all of this is this: they all have the same principle. You see? And we are sitting up fighting over how it's presented, and we're missing the whole boat. And like I said before, the key carbon concept of all is you should understand that we got a common enemy in the white man. You see? And we should, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a doggone who you are and what your ideology is. If you got that same belief system, you're all right with me. Because we should support everything the white man opposes and oppose everything the white man supports. So we got these doggone black leaders that's coming out, and you see them on TV all the time. And you don't know the ones I'm talking about. And every time you turn around, the white man got a form, they're sitting on it, and the white man has the most visual in his great deceiver called the TV set. That's not the man to look at. It's the people that you never see. We got elders, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen, John G. Jackson. We don't know how the hell he looked today, because a lot of people don't even know. Chancellor Williams, different people, different scholars all over the place. Asa Hilliard, Charles Finch, Leonard Jeffries, you see, Naeem Akbar, Sister Keffer at First World Alliance in Harlem. We have Frances Cress Welton. What's the girl? Donna, what's the girl she's talking on?
Donna Richards.
Donna Richards, she goes into the female principle. You know, we have these people, you never see them on TV. You understand what I'm saying? And when they do put a brother on TV, 98% of the time it's to discredit them. And you watch when they put people on Donahue and all these places. Donahue act like he's the biggest liberal in the world. But it's one thing, Donahue, he'll say, well, I'm with you and I understand the struggle of black people, but in a way, I want to ask you this question. The next thing you know, he asked a question that got the white audience riled up, and before you know it, you came on and you didn't get your point off, because once you get people mad, they don't want to hear any kind of common sense. And you're dealing with the irrational people in the first place. They don't give a damn because they are pathological, psychopathic racists, you see. And so, these are the things. So these people that we see, that the man gives us, we need to take another look at them. And I want to put that out about the Nation of Islam because there's a brother named Wise, and he's going to come in and he's going to give some more detailed lecture on what's happening in the UFO world around us. There's a whole UFO world, and white people are into this stuff every day. If you want, I'm going to pass out some flyers. I think there's a lecture going on as we speak. You can just take that and just take those and pick them around. And there's elections going on as we speak, and it's community. It's a small community, but it's not small because it's a small community, but it's in every city. And this thing is big among white people. It's big among white people. And so the brother Wise, he will be coming and speaking sometime in the future. We can get him. His name is, he changed his name to True Islam. You know, and Wesley X. And he said that he was very you know, he didn't want to, he just joined the Nation of Islam. Now he goes to Morehouse and he studies all this. He said, just joined the Nation of Islam. And he said that he didn't want to go out there and sell no doggone bean pies and no final call. But he said he had to do it because this is the training group of the training process of the Fruit of Islam. And he said that standing up on that corner and catching hell from his own brothers and sisters laughing at him. You see, laughing at him and people coming up talking junk. I don't want no damn bean pies and different things like that. And people making mockery. And even some of his own brothers and sisters that go to school with him, looking at him in a certain way. He said it makes him a humble person because he knows that he cannot do it now unless he loves his people. And he said every day they're in the projects and they are also at the suit lines. So anybody that's working for the liberation of black people, we need to come together and we need to get out all these small-time fights. Because you know the white man has always kicked our ass by starting a fight among us. And this is the last thing we need to do going into the 21st century. Now going back to this is a basket made from the Dogon tribe that says this is no more's art. This is no more's art. This is nothing but a spaceship. This is a representation of a spaceship. 700 years ago, this would look just as alien, but I mean, this is old. This is 700 years old. And but this is a spaceship, so these people know what they're talking about. See the symbols in it? It's not the same highly technical, but it's a symbol of a spaceship. You see? And they also say that Dogon has an art. Now let me get into this right quick. They say that Dogon has an art, and in Arizona, they are building spaceships. They're building spaceships, or they have a government secret UFO project, and they're building aircraft somehow to get with this war of liberation. They have them out. But in the mythology, they say that Dogon has an art, which is to pay a fox, but his art is inferior. You see, what we have now, when we're talking about these UFOs that if you go and you hear things, what we have, they say we have vessels that can travel 9,000 miles, in what?
Per hour.
Per hour. 9,000 miles per hour. This would be just about right because Sirius is 8 light years away. Now, hell, we can't even go down the street without running out of gas. But they say that they somehow rescued a vessel. And this vessel, they have it in Arizona because they have a secret UFO force project going on right now with that village. And you can get a lot of this stuff in Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. And they got all the government documents. And they also speak of this. And there's a book you can buy at the Sphinx Metaphysical Bookstore on the secret government UFO project. But there's some other bit of information. I don't know if it came on TV. I think it did. Because every now and then they put stuff on. They said that they captured one of these spaceships. They didn't say anything about the people, they just talked about the vessel. And they said that this stuff, the material it's made out of, is nothing that we even have in this whole, on Earth. And they said that they don't even know what kind of fuel it is. They can't even operate it because they don't run on nothing that's made on Earth. Well, it shouldn't. You see, this is high technology. You see, in Hemmitt, what you see when the person goes up, you see the hieroglyphics. One person, and you see the gods in the hieroglyphics. That mythology, the common folk worship that just like we worship Jesus and all of this today. And worship the story behind it. And the story had a little bit of principle. It had principles. But the high priest understanding that story or those gods represented certain principles, and those principles represented certain scientific elements. And these are the working tools of the ancient Egyptian mystery system. They understood this. There's a part in the mystery system called the Black Rite. And the Black Rite is a high part of the mystery system. They go into the Black Rite, and there's something called God Osiris, God of the cold black, or Osar, God of the perfect black. And this perfect black, in Sirius, in the Sirius mystery, Temple Sirius mystery, is representative of that black darkness of the star that you can't see. And this is a high initiate degrees. And you go into this whole thing. But they understood that all of this represented scientific principle, because they knew in Kemet that you couldn't separate knowledge or science and learning and all of this from God. It all was one. That's the thing in Freemasonry. What is God? God is length, width, depth, and breadth. What is geometry? Length, width, depth, and breadth. That's why you see the G in there for geometry, but it represents God. Now we understand that God is a German deity, a German deity that doesn't have anything to do with the linguistics as far as God in the ancient world. That word God, that's a German deity with blue hair and blonde eyes. But they understood that. So when the Europeans have that, when the European Masons have that ring that have that G in it, it has the square and the compass and it has a G in it. That G represents geometry, and geometry is God, for lack of a better word, is the creator. Because he who knows the earth and how the earth works is God, you see. So there is something valid about when you have this big argument when the 5% nation, these brothers come around and say the black man is God. Well, they are right in a way. They are right. They understand that the creation, or the creator, I can't create the world, but if I understand the sciences, I can manifest into God form. And so all of this, every single thing they did had its origin in the religion. Everything. And they didn't separate the two. They didn't separate the two. But you working around, if your religion starts off as saying that you shouldn't bite from the tree of knowledge because you would have the knowledge of God, and we understand why they separate the two now. And they separate the two now. But this is the hieroglyphic or the meta-nature symbol for Sirius. So if you ever learn hieroglyphics, there's some books you can get. There's a book by called Egyptian Language, a little small book by Budge, Budge called Egyptian Language, and it's about $5, and you can start off with an introductory level of that. Then there's some other books out. There's a book by Alan H. Gardner called Egyptian Grammar, which is one of the best books you can buy. There's another book I have, but it's I don't think it's in print, but another book, the best book you can buy is by Alan H. Gardner. If you could ever learn hieroglyphics and could ever read papyrus or ever read the Book of the Dead or ever read anything, you could probably find this symbol that represents Sophis or Sirius. And okay, this is another one of those death chambers where I don't think they put it up here, but there was a hieroglyph for Sirius, and this is Isis, and I think this is Orion, and there's different clusters of star gods all over. Now, let's take that out and still down. These are representations even in Europe, Babylon, Mesopotamia, where you have this so-called wheel all over ancient form, all over ancient history. And you know the thing Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the sky. This is what they're talking about. That wheel. And also they're talking about, because we understand that Napoleon saw wheels, Tutmosis III saw wheels, there's been wheels in South Africa, there's been wheels in Russia, and Russia is real big with UFO sightings. And always where there's some people that's the most powerful people on earth, either United States and Russia, these are the powerfulest nations on earth. And both of these places, they got books out on UFO abductions in Russia and also in America, and also in South Africa. There was one woman that said on a PBS special, she said that she saw UFOs, and the UFOs, they said, well, what did it look like? She said, well, it didn't look like it was made out of anything that we ride around in. She said, but I know what I did see. I saw hieroglyphics. They said, well, you know what hieroglyphic is? She said, I know what hieroglyphics look like. I know fool. I saw hieroglyphics, you see. And it got me to thinking, right before Christmas, I went home and I was like, I've been studying this stuff for the last 4 years. man, it seemed to me I just can't put it together on how this stuff is going to work. How are we going to really get out of this stuff? And the reason why is because I was looking at it on an earthly form, and I was looking at it based upon the society that we live in. Now, this doesn't mean, this doesn't mean that you don't supposed to struggle. Because we understand it. We must prepare for the coming of whatever. And this doesn't mean that. This doesn't mean, well, you know, hell, if some UFOs coming back, I might as well go and get my BMW and, you know, just call it a lie. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that the ones who are ready will be prepared. Now, we got three kinds of groupings, or whatever. Well, let's see. We have the dead people, which our brothers and sisters are our brothers and sisters in the projects and all around the streets. They're on a dead level. I don't take the excuse that the brothers and sisters is so-called educated, and the brothers and sisters is walking around here, riding around having a ball at a dead level. They're not at a dead level because they have the access to learn this same stuff. They are ignorant. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge, and people will perish from a lack of ignorance. And ignorant is the God set. And ignorant in Egypt is called evil. Because they said each day that you live, you should learn something. And the day that you didn't learn something was the day that you didn't live. And so they will have retribution on the ignorant people. So brothers, it's going to get bloody, and some of these brothers and sisters out here that's running around here, if they lined up with the society, and they're being ignorant, and they refuse to get down with what's right for them, what's the ancestors' things, and the ancient things other than their things, they're going to get slaved too. And then we understand that, hey, the white man, the 10% who's running this thing, because you got the 85, the 5%, they got some good stuff going. They got the 85, which is the deaf, dumb, and blind. You have the 5%, which is the knowers of knowledge, and you have the 10% of the people that's running this thing. I say that we have black people in the 10%. Even though if they had the knowledge, they probably wouldn't be there, but still yet, they are lined up with this government, and they are in the 10%. This big, fat, stink, fat-ass, boule male that had the cops sent on his brothers and sisters. Now, he graduated from Morehouse. And Morehouse is your alma mater, your other mother, your home away from home. And the people that are at Morehouse and at Clark, Marsh Brown, and Spelman are direct linked with the people that have graduated. All is one. This is African. We are. I am because we are. We are because I am. This is the oneness. You got different individuals, but you got one hand, and this is the roots. And here's a man that sends the cops in on his own mother. He getting his ass whipped too. You best believe that, because he had the power to tell Elgin Bell, look, we can refrain. All I want to do is I got a vested interest in my white man stuff downtown. They tried to tear it up yesterday. Don't let them tear it up, and say, don't let them outside of Northside Drive, but don't go into the AU Center. And the next thing we know, he's down there. They're throwing canisters of tear gas in the rooms, not only at the students, but these damn crackers, and these niggas are so arrogant, they threw doggone canisters in the classrooms when people were having class. Beating down the black woman. We can't say that black people gonna always got this thing. I'm saying that some of these niggas are the beasts too. They have gone beyond that level. You see, the beast comes from the nature of barbarism out of the caves and hills of Europe. We went through our own barbarism in slavery. And some of our people have slipped to the level of the beast. And our diets and what we do and what we eat, our spirituality is not active. And because we sit down and we side with the beast, we are nothing but the beast. So these brothers and sisters are selling us out now. I've always said I hated Uncle Tom. I can't stand Uncle Tom. But we somehow put them in the group. You know, there was a story out in Denmark, BC. Denmark Vesey was telling one of the slaves, and they had a town meeting, a little small private meeting. The slave tried to kill one of the Uncle Tom people, and he said, you shouldn't do that because he's still our brother. But yet the Uncle Tom brother, later on, found out where he was and went and killed one of our leaders. I'm saying that, hey, retribution is going to come to the haters of our mothers and our fathers. And if you got any part in this, Colin Powell, all these people, even big fat ass Oprah Winfrey. See, I talk about the goddess, and I respect the black woman. But here's a woman that refused to have black shows on it. And she had a white woman on, came on and dropped about two weeks ago. She came on and was talking all the stuff that black people been talking about for the last 5 years. But she was a white woman. You understand what I'm saying? But they said that she came and they had, Whitney Houston had a concert. Whitney Houston had a concert, and they said at the concert, I think she does it every year for the projects in Chicago or something. Anyway,
New Jersey.
It was in New Jersey? Okay. Well, in New Jersey. Anyway, Oprah Winfrey was there. And she had a seat here. They said the Minister Farrakhan was a couple of seats down from her. And she came out and shook his hand and shook all the people's hand. But rather than to let them Jews see her sitting by Farrakhan, a couple of seats down from her, now doggone, you got to be bold on one thing. She went and stood up for damn near 2 hours on the concert. Because she didn't want to sit down. Now, some people say, well, you know, she got to make... No, fuck that. She's one of the richest black women in the country. It's got to be a time when we can't talk out and say it's all about money. And we say, you don't wear them shoes. Look, ain't that much money in hell. You understand? I mean, we can't say this. If so, what if the cracker took her show? She got enough money that she can live 4 life terms and then give some other people some money so they can live 4 life terms. So we can't use that as an excuse about her market is white and all this bullshit. She has the power to do what the hell she wants because she got more money. She ain't like people just starting out. And I saw this with Montel Williams. And first when he started out, I said, I don't know, he's just another nigga straddling the fence. But he has more guts than her because in the last, since February, he's had all the black shows. He even had the shows on talking about AIDS being a conspiracy. Yeah. And they had one cracker on there. He had another show on there where one cracker came on talking about we're gonna lock up all people, black and white, who had AIDS in concentration camps. He was like, and they would say, he said, are you crazy? And so he was like, well, listen, let me tell you what the deal is. In Africa, in the year 2015, he said what? 46 million people, Africans, would have died from the AIDS virus. And another